The Empire State of New York, in the person of Governor Kathy Hochul.
Test. More volume on this mic.
Hello, church. Great to be back again. I was here just about a year ago and felt so welcome. But I'm back again. One thing I want to say at the outset, ushers, you missed the people in the front. So you're leaving money on the table, right? There's some money up here. Okay. All right, here we go. All right. Now don't worry about that, because if you watch my State of the State address, we're going to put money back in your pockets. All right? So you're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. First of all, to be in this place, this hallowed sanctuary, where Dr. King came and spoke, not knowing it'd be his last time to ever speak in a New York City church. But he poured his heart out, as he often does, and shared with this congregation his thoughts about where we're heading. And here we find ourselves today, very much thinking about the words that he lived by, the words that he taught by, but more importantly, the words he left us today. So Reverend James Kilgore, our president of the Baptist Ministries Conference of Greater New York and vicinity, and indeed, New York is great. Greater New York. Thank you for bringing us together. I heard Pastor Williams speak. I said, who put me in the order, an Irish Catholic girl from Buffalo, to speak after him? Because I could only go down from there, right? But I'm honored to be here with all of you and the First Ladies and my colleagues in government. I'm going to give a few of them a shout out, the ones I can see from here. We have our Congressman, Adriano Espaillat, who's been a great, great friend of mine, a great partner. Please stand up. Our district attorney working to keep us safe, Alvin Bragg. Our borough president, Mark Levine, has joined us. Brad Landon, our controller, is here. Senator Robert Jackson, one of my partners up in Albany. Member of the Assembly, Jordan Wright, is here. And Councilmember Yusuf Salam is here. Anybody I missed? I know a good lineup when I see one. I just watched the Buffalo Bills last night. That was a good lineup. I'm allowed to say that, right? I can say that. All right? You're all Bills fans, right? Where else are you going to go right now, right? Kansas City? I digressed a little bit, just a little bit. But when I think about being in this church, and the last church that Dr. King spoke at in New York, I think about the church he spoke at 2 months before he was brutally assassinated, and that was his beloved Ebenezer Church in Georgia. And at that church, he said something that is so profound. He said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? It is so simple. It is so clear. But I say, the time for asking these questions is over. Now it's time to stand up and say what you're going to do and who you're fighting for. And I took note that the name of this conference is Honoring the Dream, We're Still Standing. I say we're not just still standing, we're still marching. We're not done marching yet. And what does that march mean? It means to use the power of your position, whatever it may be, whether you're blessed to be an elected official, and I tell you this is the highest honor of my life. Never imagined that God would put me in this place, but here I am. And I am honored to be here. But when you're given these opportunities to serve others in a profound, unexpected way, you must step up. And those of you who listened to my values and my priorities in my State of the State address a few days ago would see the influence of Dr. King in my life. Now you're thinking, well, how is Dr. King influencing this woman from Buffalo? Well, I'm going to tell you a couple things right now. I'm a lot older than you think, okay? You can laugh at that. You don't have to agree. But I was 10 years old when he was assassinated. Dr. King was not a stranger to my family. A little girl, I would try to get away from the challenges of growing up in a very big Irish Catholic household. I would walk to the neighborhood library. My parents couldn't afford to buy us books, but I knew I could always check one out. And I went through this whole series called The Childhood of Famous Americans, and they actually had the book about the life of Dr. King while he was still on earth. I read that story, read it over and over. And my parents were also those social justice Catholics. I mean, they were marching against the war, they were marching for civil rights. They had their little kids, all of us, part of this journey. And the influence on my life was profound even as a child. And the night that he was assassinated, that fateful day, on a spring day in April, my family gathered, we held hands, we prayed, and we cried because we knew we lost one of the great ones. So I carry that story with me forever. And that is one of the influences I take with me when I'm talking about who we're fighting for here in the great state of New York. And as I declared last week, my fight is your family, because New Yorkers are struggling too much. They have too many struggles. Inflation is not their fault, it's not your fault, it's no one's fault, but it's real. Everything costs more. Eggs are now $7. A couple months ago they were $4, and before that they were $2. Come on. How are people supposed to survive? Paying the rent? Paying for child care? Anybody out there paying for child care? Your grandkids? It's $21,000 a year to care for a child. You're making minimum wage? It doesn't add up. People are struggling, and I cannot ignore those cries for help. And I will not be silenced, as Dr. King called out those. The worst are the ones who remain silent when they're called to use their voices. So what are we doing about it? I wasn't joking when I said money back in your pockets. We have found a way. And I'll be announcing my budget tomorrow, and I need to get back to Albany as soon as I'm done here and put the final touches on it. But you will not be disappointed because it prioritizes the people of this state. If you have a child under the age of 4, $1,000 back in your pocket, because I know the diapers and the formula and everything's so expensive there. And why do I know that? Because I'm New York's first mom governor. I lived it. I lived it. For families, because you paid so much in sales tax, a $500 rebate to put back in your pockets. You want an education? You're an adult who wants to get retrained in a new field? Free college tuition at a community college. Free. Lifting up opportunities, creating opening doors for people. And a middle-class tax cut because you're paying too damn much in taxes. It all adds up. You've got 3 little kids, and we're covering your school lunches too, by the way. School lunches and breakfast will be free for every child in New York, so no child has to have the stigma of getting in a separate line to get that subsidized lunch. Nearly $5,000 back in your pockets if I can get the legislature to support this. That's what I'm talking about. That's how we use our positions to make a difference. And also, I believe in second chances. I was able to sign the clean slate law that says when you have paid your debt to society, you should not be ostracized. You should be able to get a job, re-enter society, earn a living, get a place to live, take care of yourselves. There's one other issue I want to raise with you. As our nation approaches its 200th anniversary, there are some scars that need to be looked at more closely. At the beginning of our nation, 1 out of 5 New Yorkers were enslaved people. I don't think most people know that story. They all thought slavery was something in the South, right? Didn't happen here. Those people didn't build our great buildings, and they don't have any buried down on Wall Street. No, that never happened. Well, that's the history they want you to think exists. I convened a reparations commission of leaders from all across the state to talk about the vestiges of slavery and how we're still dealing with it today, and to tell the stories of the struggles, because they were real. And we examined the struggles of today at noon and for the next 4 years. I want to put a little perspective into this. Talk about struggles. Talk about being a young man in his early 30s, wasting away in a dark, dank jail in Birmingham. And he sent messages, powerful words from that jail cell that told the story of what real discrimination and hatred was all about, how it affected people, and said, we will no longer wait. We're going to take up this cause and march forward. If a young man can do that from a jail with no hope in front of him, we can rise up, my friends, as a community, as a people, as New Yorkers, and say, we will fight for our rights with every fiber of our being. So whatever comes our way for the next 4 years, we are ready. We are ready to stand up and channel the spirit of Dr. King and the influence of Jesus Christ, our Lord Savior, on him and his teachings. Because that's how I was raised, that's how I'll always be, and all of us together will continue not to stand up, but to continue the march forward to real justice and freedom in the great state of New York. Thank you, everybody, and happy Dr. King Day. And because I'm the governor, I get to carry around really big proclamations in honor of Dr. King Day. Now I'm going to put this to a vote because I do believe in democracy. Some others don't. I do. Let's take a vote. Who wants me to read every word of this long proclamation? Hearing none, the ayes have it. I will not read every word of this long proclamation, but I will present this to you in honor of Dr. King Day and say we honor his legacy today and all the days going forward. Thank you very much.
Before the governor leaves, we're going to have some interviews in the office, but we have a quick statement that we want to share with you all, and then we're going to take her back to the office and do a few more gaggles with the media.
On this very commemorative and high worship moment and day, I stand to share really an embarrassing truth. That inasmuch as we are celebrating, we are also fighting here on 145th Street. And we are fighting with the MTA. Our members are being charged for coming to worship. And this practice has, the country is more than 200 years old. But for 127 of those years, Union has been on 145th Street. And for many of those years, Convent has been here on 145th Street. But our members are being charged for coming to worship. We have a meeting with the MTA, which will be our second meeting. Our first one was held here at Convent Avenue. Our second one will be held at Union Baptist Church on January the 28th, Tuesday, January the 28th at 3 o'clock. And I'm asking all levels of our government to hear that we are hurting. And as a community, many of our members have tickets, $500 and $600 just for parking like they've always parked for 100 plus years to come to worship. So I'm asking every level of our government to work with us in resolving this issue, because we are presently celebrating, but in the celebration, it does not negate the reality of the pain that we go back to when this benediction is over. So thank you so much, Governor. We love you, we appreciate you, and we're asking that you and all of our representatives partner with us in this most urgent matter.